forgot how you screen share. There it is right here.
I get a different reaction. I live my life by the laws of attraction. Different reaction. I get a different reaction. I live my life by the laws of attraction. Different reaction. Let's get it. They feeling like I have seen so many faces stuck in the matrix. Don't know if the soulmate go over your head, but fuck it, I'll take you. I've been taking action for all my people. I do this with passion. I've been attracting alien life forms with different reactions. I made music for the soul. I came to empower and take back control. Oh, homie, you didn't know that crystalline gold that came with these flows. I like for you all to perceive a new way you're living, a new way to do this with ease. 28, but I'm ancient. I've been existing ever since existence has came to fruition with premonitions through my intuition. Out my mouth depicting only truth. I am a god of war, Aries. I do not lose. I manifested as true. Still the sensations flow up. You're 33 vertebrae. I know you heard of me. Time that you heard of me. I be the infinite one, the one that gazes at the sun. I get my shit done and back to the astro. Got to digest my work for your gastro. It's testimony, this intentional. The way I speak my knowledge through these instrumentals. All my songs are mental, so just memorize it, let it out your dentals. Everything I've been through, coming into this point. I've been rolling fire, my shit's on point. Take hits from this joint, yo. Been feeling like I have seen so many faces stuck in the matrix. Don't know if this song make go over your head, but fuck it, I'll take you. I've been taking action for all my people that do this with passion. I've been attracting alien levels with different reactions.
Searching for words of the ancients, carefully turning the pages. Verbally dangerous, work with the language, learn the restraints that contains us. Grateful to give my thanks and my praises. Coming straight from the pavement, my strength will break through these cages. The cycle of age-old sages. Study the basics up to the day that they make sense. Step up in the ranks next. Becoming courageous, tough as a razor blade is. Struggle for pace like Mother Teresa, raise up. Nothing can phase us, rugged abrasions, scrapers and grazes, cuts on our faces. Stuck in the matrix, somebody come up and wake us quick. Knowledge that can't suppress. We stop in the raise on fist. To the atmosphere, dripping with different reactions. Typical intergalactic tactics, lit up our assets, building an integral path of access. This is my Jackson.
Feeling like I've seen so many faces stuck in the matrix. Don't know if this song may go over your head, but fuck it, I'll take you. I've been taking action for all my people that do this with passion. I've been attracting alien levels with different reactions. Man with no purpose will feel like he's worthless, and if I am infinite, I'll truly worthless. I do this to murder this. No, you've never heard this. Everything I do has a purpose. Yo, have you ever been exposed? Intelligent flow that comes from the soul, that when it explodes into your whole endocrine system and goes. Magical substance that glows. Now I am back in the lab. Alchemical mixtures intertwine and watch it react. Take matter from nothing, turns it into something your ears can know up to. Now put this on blast. I get a different reaction. When it's my music, you're blasting. I put my words into action. I know you love how I'm rapping. Young guy, if I go, I'ma let it go, I'ma let it flow, I'ma spit it one time. But all of you to get it, homie, if I say it, then you know I'm in it, you know what's embedded with that fundamental error. You know my shit is heaven sent. Every syllable I utter, every word is so magnificent. Homie, can you hear the difference yet? Did I go over your head? Did I create a new element? I've been feeling like I have seen so many faces stuck in the matrix. Don't know if this song may go over your head, but fuck it, I'll take you. I've been taking action for all my people that do this with passion. I've been attracting alien life with different reactions.
Different reactions, man. Welcome everyone. Gentle Chaos here. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been on. Freddie, I see Freddie in the house, man. Welcome, Freddie. Welcome everyone to the morning. Well, it's something new. You know, where's Gentle Chaos been? Gentle Chaos has been struggling with drug addiction, and Gentle Chaos is walking through that drug addiction. And I have to say it. I feel pretty good right now. It's a combination of taking what's good in for my body with meditation, which Freddie just mentioned that in the chat. You know, meditation is a huge part of this, what we'll call the Great Awakening, and it's such a huge part of it and to have a meditation, to be able to, and meditation is just a word, meditation's a word that we use to describe something, and that something is, it's coming to sit face to face with that roommate that you live with, that roommate that that thinks it is all the circumstances and experiences that one's had in their life can add up to who they think they are. And I think human beings are stuck in a rut of believing that we are all the nonsense that we've been through, and nonsense not in a bad way, just sort of this world and the world we live in is a very challenging world to live in. And there's a lot of stuff thrown at us from when we're born until we reach whatever age we reach, and all that stuff can add up to a miserable life. And if we believe that that's what it adds up to, and I'm drugs have been a part of my life for my whole life, and it's been a way to numb out. It's been a way to numb out to a reality, and reality's a little different now than I've seen it before. Reality is. Hey, Lulu, settle down, Bubba. Louie, go settle down, buddy. Reality is the dogs wanting to bark right now while I'm doing this live thing, and does it bother me? No, it doesn't bother me because they're dogs, So where's General Chaos been? He's been struggling with drug addiction, and he's walking out of it now. And without further ado, a special guest is on today with us, Dara, and Third Eye Radio, which he also has a channel on YouTube, and is doing a lot of big things. I'll let him sort of just give his own intro, but I want to welcome Dara to the AM show, and Dara, welcome, brother.
Man, thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for a while now, ever since we first started speaking, and thanks to Ghost for the introduction, of course. And yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and kind of going off the topic of meditation. You saying how the sound of the dogs is. It's like when we're taught in meditation, one thing you notice is the sounds, they are just there, and it's nothing that is to be a distraction. But the dog barking is as the wind blows, or as the gardener is using the blower, and it's every single little thing that you take in and accept as a distraction becomes a distraction versus just part of life itself. It's pretty amazing to think about it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. It's definitely to be able to experience our surroundings without all the distraction of what our mind can be saying about our surroundings is a freedom in itself, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, and as we were talking before the show, which kind of goes along with the song that you played, which reminds me, I got to get a hold of them, because I would love to have them on my radio station as well and play their music, because it kind of goes along with what I'm trying to do there. But I pretty much just woke up for the day like an hour ago or whatever. I was supposed to be up an hour earlier, you guys, so I apologize for being so late. But this awakening that people are going through, and the awakening of humanity, and our enlightenment as individuals and as the collective, I was just thinking, like, it just hit me when I woke up. I was grabbing my cup of coffee. It's like, wow, I just woke up. And then I expanded that out one step further. Wow, every time you wake up, there's a new bit of knowledge that comes to you. And as people, and as humanity, and as the evolution of humanity, we always have these stages of awakening. And you mentioned earlier too about when we're born. I was thinking, wow, there's another step. And it seems like there's this clear, evident cycle of everything from source down that we go through as individuals and as people. Like, we've got these stages of, like, for example, the dark ages that go eventually to the golden age of knowledge. And we also seem to have that in our personal lives, from birth to death, as well as on a daily basis. So I found that I don't know why, but it just struck me as like there's something there. You like when you know there's just something there, and it
Right.
just clicks. And you and I were talking the other day about things that just click. It's like we already knew this, and the reason why it clicked is because we just remembered again. And I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, it's recognizing, it's recognizing that which is already there. You know, I mean, it's almost this world that we live in. It's thrust upon us that we're supposed to find ourselves out there somewhere. You know, and everything it really points to look out there to find yourself. And I think it's actually it's backwards because it wasn't until I started to look inside that I started to be able to see the truth out here. And what is the truth? I mean, that's a once again, it's a word that attempts to describe something in this experience. And so, for me, I found the absolute truth is love. There is no greater truth than love, and everything else sort of spawns from that truth right there. And so, to be able to start to, as a plane or as a helicopter, as a helicopter hovers above my head, it seems like that's what'd you say, Darren?
I was just kind of giggling.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know,
it's pretty convenient. I haven't seen a helicopter fly above me in a while, bro. So who knows what's really going on there? But I know this that I no longer I don't feel scared anymore, bro. I don't feel scared anymore, and that's a huge. It doesn't say that it doesn't show up because it does, but overall, my it's not fear that I'm living in no more. And so I sort of see what's going on around me, and it's like I continue to ask myself, what can I do to what can I do? What kind of action can I take to um, sort of be what I can be for this world or for the human beings that are in my experience? And it right now it says, you know, it has said for a while that it's time to go to the streets. You know, so I take it to the streets on my own way. You know, I go out there and I hold signs, I pass out flyers, and just talk to people as much as I can. You know, I be the crazy man, and in some cases, and in other cases, people are like, "Man, dude, that really makes sense." You know, and so really, it's for me, it's about just opening people up to the ideas. And the very first and foremost idea that I want to open them up to is the idea that they are love, that we are love, that we are love here, experiencing this experience, and our purpose is mighty. Each human being's purpose is so mighty; it's so much bigger than they know, or at least in my case, it's like walking into this is a very challenging thing. I want to say props real quick to Forbidden Knowledge is somebody that on Instagram we follow one another, and that different reactions was. Let me pull it up here because I don't want to misquote their name. It was by Cruz and Jackson Turner, and you can find them on Pantheon Elite Records. They got a YouTube channel. I'm sure you can go there and get their website. And I mean, they just speak to a lot of what I'm talking about, and a lot of the understandings, and a lot of my relationship with life really has to do with my relationship with myself. And it wasn't until I looked inside and find myself. And I think that's what they're speaking about as well. You know, different reactions and the law of attraction, like we're attracting into our life exactly what we need to grow, you know. And so Dara, just a little bit of, can you give a little bit of a background of yourself, and then, you know, let the people know where they can find you at, and you know, just a little down low on who Dara is.
Yeah, no doubt. But before I forget, I want to mention a couple things. It's funny, the more you and I talk, the more and more I find that we have in common as far as experience. And going off experience, how you said we are experience. Part of my Facebook URL is my name, I am experience. That's in my Facebook URL. I was like, damn, we've got so much, like we see eye to eye on so many things. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, bro.
And
yeah,
like going off the whole
real quick, just to hit on that right there. And the reason we're doing that is because we're talking. It's because we are communicating with one another, and that's how we're finding all this out. So I just really wanted to you know, mention that, because that's a huge part of it. Without talking to one another, we won't know nothing about each other.
Yeah. So people don't forget to knock on your neighbor's door once in a while and say hi.
Absolutely, absolutely. Please continue what you were saying, though, brother.
Excuse me. Yeah. As far as the addiction thing goes, I gotta give you props for that, because I know that ain't easy. But one thing that I'd like to point out, when you were talking about truth and the clarity in it, if you've ever observed, like for example, I don't know if it was wind chimes in the background, but I know I heard some kind of chinging metal. It sounded like a
Wind
wind
chime.
chime to me.
You got it. It was a wind chime.
Okay, so you got the wind chime and the birds in the background. And I was thinking, like, wow, when you hear stuff when you're high or battling with an addiction or even alcoholism, um, if you observe those sounds, they are as fuzzy as your reality is in that moment. But when
Mm-hmm.
you've got the clarity, those sounds are so rich and pure. They talk to you. Whereas being on an addiction, they're just there for the distraction. It seems like, So it's like, as this truth is revealed on a daily basis, and every time we find something out, it just seems like everything gets crystal clear. It's a trip. So I had to mention that, because every time we say something or talk, and there's always something interesting, we try to remember what we were trying to say 5 minutes ago. And we're like, I got something to add to that.
Right, right. No, that's how it usually goes on this, especially when I'm in an interesting conversation, or really any conversation. Almost every conversation can be interesting to me, because of what I'm bringing to it, as far as like what my reality is, or what I see reality is. And I'd also like to. It's pretty interesting. There is the name of Third Eyed Radio. There, would you like to? Because you gave a great description of something, what you were hearing in the background, and you were right on with it, because that's exactly what it was. My mom's got some wind chimes out here, and I set up in my mom's beautiful backyard, and my mom and dad built this together, and so it's just an awesome, quiet, calm place for me. But you described it, the wind chimes, and you give a great description, and I would just like to have you hit on, what it is you went through, that why'd you name your show Third Eyed Radio, and just talk a little bit about something that has happened in your life that that has brought you to this point, and if you get my drift.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was 2014. I started an online radio station called Third Eye Radio Network. And the reason why I came up with Third Eye Radio is because it surface level or surface value. When you first look at it, third eye, you think pineal gland, opening the third eye, the Anya chakra. But what I'm really going for is the fact that you could break it down on a metaphysical level, you could break it down to the atomic level, but the smallest points in our bodies, like in the DNA strand or whatever, they got these little things off the ends of the sides. I don't know what they're called, but they look like little antennas. And it's thought that if you were to cut the pineal gland in half and take like a side look at it, I guess, it kind of looks like the, what's it called? The mercy seat that is famously depicted on top of the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And that is said to be the transmission point to and from God, source, whatever the higher power may be. And the mercy seat is where whichever power you bring up from your inner self would sit. So that's where I get Third Eye Radio, is just that we are all in communication, transmission points for one another and our God or source.
Mm-hmm.
Why I went that route anyway is because I talked to you the other day about my November 2012 experience, which was another odd coincidence that you and I both share, the awakening type of thing. But it's because 2003, I was attacked. And I got hit in the head with a brick, and was essentially, it was a random act of violence. Who later on I found out I actually played like Little League baseball with this guy and whatnot. So anyway, I was attacked, and no, I wasn't attacked in 2003, but I lost my sight in 2003. Finally, I was attacked in '99 early 2000, somewhere around
From
there.
the attack. It was from the attack, essentially. From the attack is why you became.
Yeah, it started tears in my retinas, and then after a couple years, it became too much stress for my eye, I guess, and then finally
Okay.
detached. So about 9 months worth of surgeries and recoveries and surgeries and recoveries and surgeries. I lost all usable, how could I say, material world sight that I lost in 2003. So from there, I just, went inward and discovered a whole new realm, a whole new universe, and it's
So
been
you were
amazing.
forced. You were essentially you were forced to go inward, and in a way that one can only hope that people don't. That doesn't, random acts of violence definitely happen. It sounds like you were lucky to have your life out of it, and to keep your life out of it. And it almost sounds like in a way that it's been a great blessing for you to be able to take something so what can seem so tragic and turn into, and it's essentially it's what life is about, is taking
Mm-hmm.
some of our downfalls and turning them into some of our greatest moments that we've had in our lives. And it sounds like you did a great job at that, brother.
Yeah, I've always been. We touched on a little bit before about like my self-discipline growing up, and I've always had the inward sense. But until you experience, it's like God or creator or source is like, okay, you're a smart individual, but you're not quite getting it. So here you go.
Yeah.
Boom. I got the brick, and I yes, I lost my physical sight, but my life has completely started over for the better.
Right.
I've met some of the best people in my life. I've done some of the best things in my life. I've seen some of the best things in my life in the last, how long has it been? Uh, well, 2003 to now, what is that? 15 years.
Yeah.
So 15 years out of 38, it's like a completely rebirth. It kind of feels like. So it's been a ride, but it's been the most pleasurable one and most enjoyable and enlightening.
Yeah, it sounds like it's almost a case of it sounds like you were like you said, you went inward anyway before this had happened, but it sounds like it kicked it up a couple notches for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I was there, but not quite there. It's like everybody uses Matrix as an analogy, but they never use this one. But like Neo, I can show you the door, but you're the one that's got to walk through it, right? Like I see the door, it's right in front of me. Now what? Okay,
Right.
I got to walk through it. Gotcha.
Right.
So
Absolutely,
here
brother.
I am.
Well, thank you for all you're doing, and I'm just real quickly, and not even real quickly, because I think this is the whole reason that I'm on YouTube, or I finally was able to step past the fear of being on something like this and being seen by people, and I guess getting back out of the box that I put myself in, or was a contributor at least to put myself in. And
There's another one.
that is children. Yeah, no doubt. That is children, bro, and that is what is happening, or what has been happening to children in our world for a long time. You definitely have went through your own journey with that, and something was birthed from what you've seen, and that's ACRC. Would you just like to hit on that a little bit and talk a little bit about that, and be able to direct people to that if they want to go there?
Yeah. So where to start with that? We've all known and all heard about things like Boys Town and the church's pedophilia that goes on there. And I don't really want to turn this into a dark subject, but people are going to take it how they accept it, so it doesn't have to be dark. But back in, what was it, April 14th, I want to say, I got to hear something that I wish yes and no, wish I would have never heard, and it still gives me these incredibly intense dreams to this day. But that was another, door opener that I had to walk through. I know about the child trafficking, the abuse, the SRA, all this tragically horrible stuff that these so-called human beings do to children, and it's absolutely disgusting. But this was my door that I walked through back in April, and ever since then, we've been, and that's kind of that's why I've been so distant and absent from YouTube as well, because myself, Ghost X, yourself, and a couple other people. Shout out to Snowman and Frosty for that as well. We started this group called ACRC, and it's Abducted Child Recon Corps. And we basically look for ritualistic sites that we can observe and report to trusted authority resources or trusted authority sources in order in hopes to bring some of these children home. And it's funny the timing that this happened, April, that we started it, and all these new laws and some of these executive orders that have gone out. It seems like so many things are changing for the better for the children. So it's such a relief to see that happening. So yeah, if you want to check that out, it's abductedchildreconcorps.org. Corps is like Marine Corps, CROCU. Jeez. One more cup of coffee.
One more cup.
CORPS.org. Yeah, and they can go there, and I just threw that up not too long ago, so we're still working on it. We'll get some resource links on that website, so it'll be like a one-stop shop for people to go to if they want to send in anonymous reports regarding things that they've seen or things that they think we should keep an eye on. We're still a small group right now, but we work with a lot of different groups that are out there to help, because unlike some other groups that are out there, fighting about fundraising or whatever it may be, like, hey, you can have the glory, but go get these kids at the same time, okay? We don't really care about that kind of thing. Just get these kids,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can hear the little bit of something else in the voice, and I know exactly where that's coming from, because when we start talking about stuff like this, when you're talking about children, and I think we can all relate, because we've all once been a child, and that child is almost trained out of us from the very get-go. And so I know where that's coming from, and it's a space of caring. It's a space of, when we talk about this stuff, like, this ain't fun to talk about. I would much rather get on here and be talking about, meditation all day, and in the awakening part of the Great Awakening. I'd much rather be talking about all that, and still in the experience that I live in, this is still happening to children. And so it's like, it won't allow me to just let that go and move on to something else, because, Pizzagate, Pedogate, all this gate, all that stuff's just words. I'm talking about children and them being treated in some of the worst ways that anybody could imagine. And I think me and you talked about a story. It almost gives a perfect segue into what we talked about last night, and that is, I believe it was David Zublik that talked about the Pope and what was going on with the Pope, and that people, some international officers arrested him and then were beat up by the Vatican security. And, me and you were talking about, it's, and he was talking about on there how it's a blackout, a media blackout, and this and that. And I say, I said, I wish there was more sources to this. And then I understand why there wouldn't be. And with that said, it makes it so hard, because I know this is going on. Like, I can see and I can feel inside of my very being that they're up to the upper echelons of our society. They are treating kids this way. And I know there's something in the thing inside that tells me the truth to everything else. It led me to this, of being a truth. Like, these people that are in these places of power are all very dark individuals, and they're running a very dark system. And I don't know, what would you add to that? What would you say about that?
I would say that so there was a study done, I don't know, a few years ago or something like that. I don't remember when, doesn't even matter, but that they did the study on the blood of what was it, like blood of infant rats could help in some way maintain or extend some portions of human life. And so, what they think is that by obtaining the young blood, that will help extend their lives. Now, whether or not this is true, the point is these people that participate in these ritualistic um, experiments, they believe it. And until they don't believe it, they're going to continue to take these children and do the worst possible things to them because they believe that's true.
Right.
So, and to go on that point, this, the spirit cooking lady, I don't know if I want to mention names or not, but everybody knows the spirit cooking lady. I, I was told that, she looks like in her 40s or whatever, but then I find out she's 70 something years old.
Right.
I'm like, everybody tells me I look extremely young for my age too. I don't bathe in blood, but when you hear a spirit cooker like that doing all these nasty things, a 30 or 40-year difference in looks, I don't know. That's just kind of odd. And common sense would kind of say that blood being the life fluid, then I don't know. Maybe that is possible, and scientifically, to some extent, it does help rejuvenate and extend some parts of our lives, especially with the damn it, did I just say especially in our lives. So I don't know.
Well,
It's
it's
just
you're speaking of Maria Abranovich, I believe is her name, and yeah,
yeah.
I mean, mention names. I mean, it's I think all the gloves are off. It's like, man, we either wake up and we are able to break out of this reality that we've been walked into slowly over many years, and either it's getting out of it or it's staying in it. And I think we're at the cusp of we're at a breaking point to where, like, yeah, humanity has to wake up very quickly, because all around them there's things that are happening and that they don't see because they can be lost in. And I'm not right now. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not doing any of that stuff, because I've been alive for 38 years. For 12 of them years, I was in prison, and for 5 of them years, I attempted to live a life that was I started a business. It did good. I paid taxes, and then I found out about what was happening to children, and it seems like my whole reality sort of shattered when I found out what was going on. And so, when I talk about stuff like this, it can be very challenging, and so I think the gloves are off, and the name and names, and I think that's a perfect example. And not only that one, but there's also there is the guy that I believe does PayPal, the creator of PayPal, who also talks about. There was an article that people can go look up, and I encourage people to not take what I say and call it your truth. Like, no, put me under the microscope. I'm just pointing you in a direction, and hopefully you can go find the truth for yourself. Don't take what I say as the truth, because it's only the truth as I know it. And the truth as I know it is once people start looking, I think the truth will set itself out, at least if you start asking all the questions inside and start doing all the, there's a lot of going in and self-analyzation that one's going to have to do with their own selves before they can even reach a spot that the truth will be spoken to them, because this thing called the ego wants to defend its position against any attackers, what it feels like is someone attacking them. And I'm not here attacking no one. I'm rather giving my perspective from where I stand in life, and I come to find that we are love, and we are here to figure that out. We're here to find out that we are that love, and when you find that there's a space inside of there that you can live from, that is this space of love. You hear that? It sounds like a bottle rocket. There is a space of love. There's a space inside that we can live from. It's just such a beautiful place, and that's why I was saying the gloves off, man. It's like it's time we either have to wake up and realize, because I'm sitting. People can call me what they want, conspiracy theorist, or that word in general, I think is, you know, it's going out of style, because people are coming to find that most of what they call conspiracy theories are very true. In at
Oh
least
yeah.
I'm seeing in my own life. And conspiracy theory itself was a creation of the letter people to keep people away from looking at what happened to
Okay.
JFK. You know,
Yep.
so it's like, man, you know, you call it what you want. All I ask is you go in and with an open heart and an open mind, and you ask the right questions, and you'll get the answers no matter what. You know, and so it's just I'm very grateful, and I feel like it's an honor and a pleasure to be on here with you, Dara, and you know, some of the viewers we got out there. We got Gandalf the White, who's new. Freddie brought Gandalf in, and welcome. We got Ariane, and you know, I'm just we got a few people in here, and I thank them, because it's you guys being here. You know, it's at least we're talking about something. I think that that needs to be talked about, and to everybody on YouTube who comes on here and who goes through the let's say the troll fields and the disinformation agents and all the ones that are out there attempting to distract and keep people from looking at what's really going on out there. You know, I think the people that are on here that are, you know, making videos and doing shows, and even in the comment section, just contributing that way, because I think until we all come together and start talking about this stuff ain't gonna change. You know, so I thank everybody out there, and we'll come on. Freddie, man, thank you for being here, brother, and everybody who's came on here, and we'll come on here in a little bit and just you know, do some interaction that way. I'm attempting to balance this out, because I know when I start looking at that live feed that I can start being jumbled up, and you know, I can start sort of falling off on what the main focus is, and the main focus is on, really, it's been what we've been talking about for the last few days, because I think that we've been talking about so much that has a lot of importance to it, you know, and to finally be able to talk about it, at least put these ideas out here. You know, I'm just grateful for everybody being here. So Dara, you're one of the ones I'm grateful for. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you too, man. Really appreciate talking with you. And that's the great thing about, you know, okay, so we got the universe of duality. So taking the internet as an example, obviously you got things like Backpage.com that got shut down for good reasons as well.
Absolutely.
You got things on the dark web that can also be used in dark or in light, and just the internet in general. And like now, if you and I didn't have this conversation publicly on Hangouts or whatever it is, whatever spy agency it is, thank you, people wouldn't be able to hear this. And I think some of the most interesting knowledge points that you can gain is from observation. And that's how I kind of approach everything. Is I'm an observer at first. And because I like to hear where someone is coming from and where we can go from that. So when people observe conversations and information like what we're having now, I know someone's going to take away something from it. And that's the biggest thing. And that little, it's like the smile theory, not theory, but the smile strategy. You know, smile at someone and say hi every day. That person will brighten up, have a smile, and maybe they'll pass it on, and then they'll pass it on, and it's
the ripple effect.
An amazing, yeah. So, yeah, it's amazing connection. You stop and smell the flowers.
Stop and smell the flowers, man. And almost when you say the smiley face, you know, it leads me to the emoticons, or whatever we.
Oh yeah, we went off on that the other day.
Yeah, and I think it's a great. Not only a great topic to talk about, because we're talking about healing. We're talking about healing as a whole. And how do we heal? Well, the very first thing we have to do is acknowledge what is it that has to be healed. It goes with a drug addiction. It goes in, you know, alcoholism. It goes to almost every addiction there is out there. In healing, acknowledging where we are. For me, you know, to acknowledge that there is something in there that sits inside there that is addicted to something. Not only physically, but mentally. And so it's a matter of changing my thoughts, and then, you know, my reality can change after that. But the emoticons, you know, the emoticons are, you said the names changed so many different times. Me and Dara were talking about communication, and it all sort of jives in together with the communication, the healing, because it's in the communication with me, and I'll use me and Dara as an example, or Dara and I as an example. The communication is so key because down to the I'll say this, down to the spiritual of this. I see me and Dara, or me and anybody who's watching this or listening to this. There is a connection. There is the oneness really jives with me. You know, when I say jives with me, I mean I can at times when I'm out of my mind, when I'm not out of my mind crazy, or one can call it that if they want to, because I've definitely felt crazy at times when I am through my mind. So to be able to live from a space in here, I had to walk through the constraints or the hold that my mind had on my experience. Mm-hmm. And when I was able to break free of them, I started to be able to live from a space within inside of myself that it felt like we spoke about the no thing or the nothing. It was like nothing was there, and it was there that everything even existed. Yeah. And so to get back to the emoticons, I felt like I was telling Dara that I feel like it was just yet another layer of confusion, or another filter for us to be confused by, because I found in my own experience of using these emoticons, or whatever they're called, that that it already with text, it's not what I'm typing to someone. It's what day they're having and how they receive it. So I guess it's a combination of the two. When I'm in a happy mood, you know, I tend to want to talk to people more and get away from text. But when I'm having my experiences sort of peaceful and joyful, you know, I like sending texts that are that can lift people up. You know, even when I'm down, I like doing that because it lifts me up to do it. But to send these emoticons, and I was noticing that I wouldn't get. I would go into like we would be having a great conversation via text. You know, I attempt to do stuff on video or over the phone or in person if that's possible, because that's sort of the greatest. I feel like that's the greatest opportunity for me to grow is through human interaction. You know, and live is sort of the best way to experience it. But I know that I'm making this long-winded. With that, the emoticons or the emojicons, I felt like they were stealing away from, they were taken away from the very thing that I was trying to do, and that it was communicate something via text. And it was like, you know, not only text, but the emojicons added another layer. And then I asked you about it, and you shared something with me that was just pretty mind-blowing. And that was you lost your sight, and so you have this other technology. Just if you would hit a little bit on that.
Yeah, so I use something that's called a screen reader, which basically reads information that is on the screen that everybody would see visually, and it relates it to me in something called text to speech. So these emoticons, emojis,
right,
or what I originally known them as smileys back in the 90s, back during pager days. But so the programmers, the code writers of these emoticons, they have to put in a description. So when my screen reader comes across the code of the smiley, it reads what's called an alt text. It's a tag that you can put in when you do coding and programming. So when you see like a smiling face with sunglasses, that's what it will say. Or a face screaming in tears, or a face crying. What is it? Like a smiling face crying tears of joy, or something like that.
So it'll be a description. It gives you a description verbally of what one will see. So if it's a smiley face, what is the description it gives for a smiley face? Just a smiling face?
Yeah, just a smiling face.
Okay.
What's interesting though is, again, it's all interpretation of facial expression. So the programmers had their interpretation of what certain facial expressions are, and I get facial expressions I get these emoticons all the time, And I would say 60% of the time, when it comes to the faces themselves, people don't know what they mean. They will confuse it for something else, like the confounded face versus the neutral face. You know, two completely different emotions, but they look very similar, apparently, to a lot of people.
Right.
So a lot of miscommunication comes from emoticons, at least, you know, sighted to blind worlds. And maybe even sighted to sighted, because if you may have a different interpretation of what a face looks like versus someone else that used it, like a crying face that is, I don't even know what it, I'm thinking of one where the tears are streaming down the face and it looks like they're, you know, screaming in disappointment or whatever, but they use it as tears of joy type of thing.
Right.
I'm like, did I just make you that sad? Or no, I mean, it's the tears of joy one, right? I'm like, no, listen to my screen reader.
Right. Absolutely, bro. And it's I mean, it's such a, to sit and see it, to watch the confusion that comes from it, you know, the confusion that comes from it. And ultimately, I can imagine how many friendships this thing breaks up. This thing meaning text, but when you throw emojicons in it, just adds another layer of confusion.
Oh yeah.
I know that I've typed things via text that, you know, and I can't, nothing's coming to my mind right off top, but I could sit here and go through my phone and find one, and it's me saying one thing, and then what I noticed back in, what I noticed as I was going through the experience of experiencing text, or what it was doing to the relationships, I started to notice that I would send messages and there would be nothing that came back, which, you know, I understand people have things to do. This world makes us very busy. And so I know I haven't gave someone a response back to a text that they've sent to me, and not that it was on purpose, but I think a lot of stuff gets lost in technology. And so I know both sides of it. And when I started to notice that that I wasn't receiving nothing back, and then I took a step back. You know, I'd take a breath, I'd take a step back, and then I would attempt to read that from a different perspective. So I would actually start to read that from a perspective that, whereas, and I could be having a great day, I could feel, I could be in balance, I could feel like, you know, life's really working for me. And then I would read it from the shoes of maybe I didn't have such a great day. So it was just in other words, I was putting myself in all these different shoes and reading these, and I started to understand that it wasn't not only how I was sending them, or it wasn't only how I was sending them, it was also what it depended on was what type of mood the person was in that was receiving it.
Yeah.
And so I started to watch myself and just how I was sending replies back or sending text. And I started to see how open this thing was, how open it was to be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
And then to see that, it was like, wow, it just blew my mind, because it showed, it really shows in like what relationships that I have with others, and what, as a whole, what type of relationships do we have with the people around us, and how much has been disturbed in these relationships because of text and emoji or that whole world.
No doubt. And if you think about the relationship with God, for example, then you take the most misinterpreted, most diverse interpreted book on the planet, the Bible, turn that into emojicons, whatever, like the millennial Bible. They actually have a Bible in these little symbols. So you want to talk about furthering the miscommunication, what better way to do it than with someone's God?
Right. And I know that, you know, the symbols are huge, but I don't think we're talking about these symbols. You know, symbolism is huge in our world. You know, symbols, this is a whole nother topic that we're going to hit on, maybe not this time, but maybe the next one. And that is the language, that the language itself, the language, English language, all of its dialects, all of whatever the language. The one guy brings all the languages together, and I don't know if you follow let me say this correctly, gematria, or is that what it's called?
Yeah, gematria.
So the guy that can bring all of these languages back into one language, like that's mind blowing in itself. But then you throw in stuff like in just the language I speak, I notice, they have all these words such as, I'll just give a brief example. Uh, in the morning time, there's a lady that does this on YouTube, and it's called Spells and Curses. I believe if you look up spells and curses, which spelling spells and curse of curses, the English language, I'm coming to find that there is something here with that. There is something there that in our languaging, we are actually speaking spells and curses. Like we are literally, it's helping to write our life. And I think the language in itself was created to confuse, at least from what I'm seeing. It was when you have something such as waking up in the morning, which MORNING morning, or the AM, and MOURNING, which is something you do when someone dies. When you wake up to your work week, which week WEEK, and then week WEAK, and you earn a living, which EARN, earn, and then URN, which you put the ashes in. And then you take a look at, like, the lady gave the stat, and I'd be misquoting it. I'm going to be misquoting it, but she said something like 80 something percent of people that die in car accidents on Monday morning headed to work. And when I look at and there was like, she linked about 7 different words. I wish I would have wrote it down. I go into this stuff not pretty ill prepared, and then look at that, ill prepared. There's another one. I mean, it just shows up everywhere. You look at profit and profit. You got profit, which there's been many prophets, they say, that have been throughout the years, and then you have profit, which is what the money does. You earn a profit. You earn a profit. Look at that.
Well, a good one that you brought up too was the whole casting spells. The one that I like to point out is spell and spell. Why do we write a letter using letters, words, sentences, paragraphs, and so forth? Yet when we participate in what's called a spelling bee, why don't they call it a lettering bee? It's why are we using spell in that sense, except to deep root or plant a seed of these spells and curses?
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And then the words that I'm mentioning is only a few of, I think I have like 14-page full of nothing but words that just it almost cements it for me when I look at it, the idea that this is like our language is something that we're going to have to take a look at, because I think human beings are much powerful. We have other ways to communicate, and it's sort of been practiced out of us through, I believe, or at least this is a possibility, our languaging in the very language we speak. So it's and that's another show. It's a whole, I think that's 10 or 20 shows in itself.
Right.
Because when you start talking about this and you start going down these people, as Freddie knows, and probably looks like most on the chat know, these rabbit holes, some of them don't have no bottom. I mean, this thing is literally, you can keep going until you drive yourself crazy. And then, I reached a point to where it's like, man, I'll go down the ones that show up, and I'm not chasing it anymore, because I almost felt like I almost went cuckoo, and I think that's its intentions, is to make you go cuckoo, because there ain't no there ain't no end to this madness. Really, well, there is. I would say there is, and that's for one to be able to go inside. That's where it finally ends. Like that relationship with Source is where everything begins and everything ends, if it even does that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like to say, the farther the rabbit hole you go down, the more shit you're going to come across.
Yeah, literally. Like, I don't think there were rabbits that dug them holes.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat, Ariane, said they're called singles. And I'm assuming that, let me look this up, because now I want to Now I want to check this out. Yeah, can you hear that eagle in the back, or not eagle, a hawk in the background, the red-tailed hawk screeching? It stays in that tree right up there. Let me see if I can turn this. See if I can turn this over and.
Yeah, I heard him battling the blackbirds the other day. I can't hear him now.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Weekend, but they're in the top of that evergreen tree over there. I'll just leave that. I'm going to leave that right there, just so we can maybe possibly see some nature type stuff. What was I going to do? I was looking up single. Have you heard of this word here, Darren? It's SIGILS, singles.
I have not.
I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but I'm going to jump off this chat so I can jump over here and look up what this is, because this is what it's really about, man. It's about learning. You know,
yeah.
We think we're just a teacher. I think we're stuck in a rut. You know, I'm a student first, and the student's mouth is very dry right now. I guess that's the herb, man. The herb does that to me. Which I'm not promoting any drug use by no means on this show. This is more about getting off drugs, because anything that you can experience with any drug, I promise you, there's a much greater experience you can have without it. And so I really wanted to make that be known. What's this word here? Singles. Dara, would you like to fill some space for me, brother? Talk about anything you want to talk about, brother.
Yeah. I did forget to give out some information earlier, so I can do that real quick.
Yeah, please do.
My YouTube channel is youtube.com/user/Third Eye Radio Network. And I also do a show with Ghost X called Dara's Ghost on YouTube. We don't have a custom URL yet, so if you just search the Dara's Ghost Morning Show, which is going to be renamed fairly soon, so look out for that. That's also on YouTube. Facebook.com/Third Eye Radio Network. Twitter is at Third Eye Radio. We do have an Instagram account, but that's one of those apps that is very inaccessible to me as a blind user, but that's also Third Eye Radio Network. The website is thirdeye-radionetwork.com, and you can listen at any time by just clicking on the Listen Now link. There's also a Listen Now button on our Facebook page, so you can listen there as well. Always looking for the conscious, awakening, enlightening type of independent artists as well. So if you happen to be one, you can fill out the form on our contact page and submit music directly through our website, which automatically goes into our rotation.
Did my rap song qualify to be on there?
What's that?
Did my rap song qualify to be on there?
Oh, it absolutely would, but I couldn't download it from the app you sent it in.
Okay, I'll have to send that over to you, bro. That's a pastime.
Yeah,
that was spoken word was something that I was into, man, and so I just started putting the stuff to.
Nice.
I found a rap chat, and as you can tell from the music, it was just me attempting to find another way to get word out to the people that there's something happening around you, and you might want to turn off your TVs and take a look at it, man. And
yeah, absolutely.
Because it's something special. But no, please, I didn't know if you'd finished. I interrupted you there, bro.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna finish up by saying that song, and then it kind of reinvigorated me to bust out my native instruments drum machine, and start laying down tracks again. And you and I talked about collaborating in that sense, so that would be fun.
We'll have to get on here and maybe collaborate somehow live, and just see how that works, man. I'm down for any of it.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. I actually just hooked up my my turntables so I can plug that in. I can route that in through the stream somehow.
Awesome. Awesome, bro. I'm looking forward to it. Let me say this. It's called Sigels. Why would it have a D there? So the pronunciation of it is, I believe it's sigils, and it's a symbol used in magic. The term has usually referred to a type of pictorial signature of a demon or other entity. In modern use, especially in the context of chaos magic, which has no relation to general chaos, by the way, it refers to a symbolic representation of the magician's desired outcome. So thank you for that. Ariane, I believe, posted that in there. So thank you for that, because it's about learning, man. And whereas people want to dismiss this word magic and magicians, like this stuff works both ways. This stuff isn't only used for the darkness. The darkness has used it for many years against us. It's just that the light, the magicians of the light don't even know that they're human. A lot of them don't know they're even human beings anymore, because it's like this artificial intelligence. It's like we're becoming the artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Like, and we are connected to the greatest intelligence that ever existed. Most human beings and in this experience that I see, I understand, like, this matrix we live in has required one to go off and leave their children in someone else's care, go off and work for 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, and then come home and take care of their children. And I mentioned the children part of it because a friend of mine just got a job in a daycare, managing this daycare, and she was speaking about how much they're paying nowadays for their kids to go to daycare. $350 a week for and this is not even one of the higher end ones. This is just like what would be considered middle America or the middle class type of daycare, and $350 a week. So if they have two kids, it's $700 a week for daycare. Like, so we are in this world. What they do is they take the parents away from the children via work, and then in a lot of cases they take the children away from the parents. It's a switcheroo type of thing, and we talked about this as well. I've been doing a lot of work with Pamela Olson, Saved Our Children out of California, who's doing such great things in attempt to save our children. I mean, it's literally, we just celebrated our year anniversary. It's a great organization of people from all around the United States that are, that not only first and foremost wake up to what's going on with children, but secondly are ready to do something about it, because this world has us in a way that, our jobs, we have to go do our jobs. If you're lucky enough to stay home with your kids, I would really consider what's going on a blessing with you, because what they're doing to kids in our world, CPS is so it's something that's supposed to be protecting our children. And I can tell you from my experience that there is a lot of children that are being taken away from very good families and put into foster care, our foster care system, because I know in the state of Missouri, they make $50,000 profit off of every child that they take out of a home. Yeah. So it's become a cash for kids thing, and the people that are losing are first and foremost these children, and secondly, us as a whole. We are losing our children to a vampire system that does many bad things with them. That we're going to hit on some of this stuff, and I think it's very important to keep this in the mind's eye of the people, because until we accept, I mean, inside of ourselves, until I accepted that this was a reality, I wasn't doing nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to accept it as a reality in order for me to move forward. And part of that moving forward is exposing what's going on. And so I would love to have everybody reach out to Pamela and Save Our Children. You can find her on all the social media. I think her Facebook, which she's trying to get people away from, and so am I. And yeah, I'm still on there. You screaming at the masses, come on, get off of here. And but I mean, all of this stuff's put together. I think what you'll see when you start taking a look at what's going on around you is we've been duped. Like we've been duped. Like what they said the world was or life was to me is not what it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely, I don't see the American dream has become a nightmare for children. It's become a nightmare for the middle class that's left, whatever that is. You know, it's become a nightmare for Americans as a whole. You know, and so I don't know how I got off on this tangent, but there I'll hand it over to you because I think me and you see stuff pretty close to the same. You know, I'm gonna get a drink of water, but I'll let you take over from there, brother.
Yeah, a great resource for people to check out is a book called Atlas Shrugged by I always mess up her name, Anne Rand, but it talks a little bit about this, and supposedly it is kind of like a guidebook for the elites or whatever, but it's a great insight on how things have operated. And if you take a look at the book, I think it was written in the 40s or 50s, and you look at it in comparison to today, it's very similar what's going on, how they break down the social structures of society, being the lower class, middle class, and upper class, if you want to put it in three categories, and essentially get rid of the middle class in order to have simply the lower class and the upper class, you know, an easier controlled population. So I think that's where a lot of that comes from, and there's some form of an agenda. I think that's fair to say and safe to say that, you know, whenever you've got something that involves, well, especially money, we'll take money as an example. You throw in something that's a reward or a reward of something to be earned, like money, you're always going to have that dualistic principle of life. You got the people that can use money, but they use it as a tool rather than use it as a power tool, for example. Like, so people will be greedy, and so they'll throw their power and their weight around with their money like these elites do. Like Ghost was just telling me about, she used to work at this jeweler, and this lady came in and dumped like $250,000 on a bracelet and earrings, or excuse me, a necklace and earrings, and we're just like, $250,000. You know?
$250,000, bro. How many people could that get off the? I know
exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about.
You guys have a high number of homeless where you are, and I know St. Louis, doing a homeless outreach here for about 5 years, I very intimately learned about homelessness and the homeless population that's in St. Louis, and it was very large, and then it's a whole nother show. It sort of went down a lot, and I don't think it was the people that were getting jobs and getting houses, but our homeless population is treated, you know, they've made it illegal to be homeless, basically. In St. Louis, they made it illegal to feed the homeless. They've made it they put so many rules forth to not take care of, essentially to not take care of myself, because that other person is me. Like, that is me over there. That's me starving. That's me without a home over there. And so the homelessness is well, like I said, it's another show. I don't know, how did I get to homelessness? How did we get to here? What were we just talking about?
I have no idea, but going back to the children, what I noticed is, I don't know if anybody remembers this, maybe it's a Mandela effect or not, but I remember as a child seeing the milk cartons with pictures of missing children on the back.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes you'll see local news reports of a missing child and whatnot. You don't see that or hear that anymore today, unless it's a high profile case, like
Right.
maybe I don't know, some I don't know, president or ambassador or somebody, if their children happens to go
Girl out
missing.
of Colorado. What was her name? The little one out of Colorado.
John Benet Ramsey.
JonBenet Ramsey.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's one of the things that I'm really going to start pushing on my YouTube channel is have these little, 2-minute clips of missing children from all over. So I guess I could start now by saying if anybody knows of missing children, go ahead and shoot me an email and I'll start doing those videos because it's got to be out there somewhere.
Yeah.
It needs to be forced in people's face.
I think the argument was, we talked about this, the argument was they didn't want their kids to look at this at breakfast. And for me,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, man, if this is what's happening, I mean, this is something that, what is the age that you, that kids can start seeing this stuff, or what type of world is that going to be? Unfortunately, if kids are being snatched up, then that's what type of, I think it's time to start talking about it at a younger age and letting them know. I mean, these children need to be, until it no longer exists, being aware of their surroundings is a good thing. And in sort of how do you bring that? So it's on a parent-to-parent basis, but that's a very challenging thing. And I think maybe moving forward, we'll have a show that talks about just that alone.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
It discusses, how are we going to talk to our children about sort of what's happening, and that what's happening is, they're disappearing, and what is it, and how would we even have that talk? I think that's a great topic for us to talk about. And I want to welcome to, let's see, I know the OG1 Kenobi just stepped in. Question Authority just stepped in. QA just stepped in. Welcome, you guys. Thank you for stopping by. We're talking about a whole bunch of different stuff. I think, and you brought it back to the children again, and I think that's what it's always going to go back to, at least with this channel. It's going to go back to the children because it's the most important thing. So we're definitely going to be talking a lot about what we can do, because I think it's coming to it's going to reach its, it's a great segue into what's going on in our world. And Dose of Reality is what I called this one today. I just threw it together, but what is happening in our reality is we have a president that seems like he is doing some stuff in the background that is really helping kids. I do not agree with everything he does, and I'm not in the man's position. And so who am I to say, I'm not here to judge him, rather to observe him. And I see a lot of good things that he's doing. And then I see some stuff that I don't agree with, and I just want to hit on, Gary, you might know the exact count because I know you keep up a pretty good track with this, and that is the sealed indictments. What is the last number that you heard we had?
Oh yeah, I'll refer people to the Twitter account 412anon87. He has put together a phenomenal resource. He's pinned the link that he started, and he's got these dashboards, and you can correlate the different dashboards together. So you got sealed indictments, you got resignations, you got some Q drops in there. Well, you got all the Q drops in there. I was just kind of trying to stay away from the whole Q thing right now. But anyway, it's something like 38,642 the last time I checked of sealed indictments. And of course, that can include sealed indictments. Yeah. So that could include, multiple people and multiple cases per indictment. However, if you take in consideration last year, this time we had something like 1,300, no more than 1,300 sealed indictments.
Right.
And now, it hasn't even been a year, and we're up to damn near 40,000 sealed indictments. And going off the Trump train, this thing that he just wrote in the executive order where the children will not be separated from immigrants that cross over or from their parents is think about on face value, yeah, okay, cool, he's keeping the kids with parents, but better yet, he's keeping those kids away from going into our CPS and foster care system.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to look at it, because it's I know our mainstream media will definitely have one believing that there is horrific things happening to these kids. I seen Rachel, whatever her name is, Rachel Maddow or whatever, the acting show that she put on that I seen was just horrific. But think of what was just said. You know, it's a very good point that this has been happening to kids. This has been happening to kids. And so the mainstream media is putting it across like this is just now starting. Well, this has been happening to kids long before these presidents, you know, long before before Trump and long before even Barack Obama. It just seems like it became even worse when Obama hit the stage and you know, and now we got now we're in a place I want to get back to the indictments because I think it's very important. These indictments are not just for some low-level thugs. You know, these indictments, I think, reach the highest parts of our government and beyond. And so sure. These indictments, keep an eye on these indictments, because I believe these indictments, this channel is not ever attempting to push fear. I know how it's used. I know how it was used against me, and I see how it's used in our culture by our mainstream media. So I'm never attempting to push fear. But the reality is this whole matrix is that is our economy. Our economy is a big part of what this matrix is. It is the matrix. And in order for us to walk into supposed heaven on earth, guess what's going to happen? Well, this economy is going to have to fall. It has to. I think that's just part of the process. Now, am I someone that, like, I can see and hope in my hopes that we can do this in a civil manner. Like I see things such as the RV and there's different ideas out there that are going to take place that will be sort of will be taking the place of our what we see as our economy right now. And so I see there's different ideas out there. And with that said, none of them have been implemented, at least not in the reality that I live in. Yeah. I'm still living under, if I have $10 in my pocket, I can go buy something. And so I see that there's things that they say are in place. I just don't see none of them taking place. And I know that doesn't mean that they're not true. It definitely doesn't. It means that they're not in the reality that I currently live in. Yeah. And so I do see that there are possibilities. And with that said, when you look at what possibly can come out of the current society we live in crashing, it can look very scary, because there are a lot of hurt people that are living around us. And the old saying, hurt people hurt people. And so I think it's so huge and goes back to what me and you spoke about in the beginning, and that is looking inside to find yourself. Like, put down the TVs, turn the TVs off. I was going to start a program, Darren, I don't know if I talked to you about this, to where we turn our TVs into friggin' flower boxes and we put them outside of our houses, bro.
There you go.
Like, take your TV, take the screen out, plant some beautiful friggin' flowers in it, and then set it outside your door and show other, because I think that's the most beauty that can come from one of them things, because what they're spewing on these TVs is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And they're actually using it. And I'm not judging anyone that watches TV. I'm simply saying, as someone that cares about humanity as a whole and you, to set it down, even if it's set it down for 2 weeks and watch how your life changes. Watch how you start to blossom. You know, you got something to add to that there?
Yeah, what's crazy about that is the human eye and brain are only able to interpret 60 frames per no, 45 to 60 frames per second. And I hope YouTube, you guys aren't getting this delay that I'm hearing. So I'm going to try to power through it. But the newer TVs, there we go, has 90 and more frames per second. Why do you need any more frames per second that we can handle? Except when you look at the previous documentation that has been declassified, that it's a way to implant subliminal messages and symbolism. So you could have every fifth frame or so just one frame that the brain could pick up of some sort of symbol. Like, go back to They Live, that the movie that everybody quotes about, the
Roddy Piper.
Yeah. So he puts these glasses on and he sees the subliminal messages that you can visually see and interpret. But if you don't have the glasses on, it just becomes a deep-rooted seed in your subconscious. So imagine all these, every fifth so frame of these, what? These subconscious frames that are being placed into our thoughts. It's just, it's crazy. So yeah, I don't know about turning your flat screen TVs into flower boxes, but,
sorry, let me mute myself.
But most of the time you can actually just put in like a memory card or something into these TVs and, go out in nature and take video or pictures and have a giant, 60-inch, whatever your TV screen may be, flat screen on the wall, like a picture, or family pictures or whatever. Have it be used for something that is beneficial to you and your family and friends, rather than being stuck in front of a TV on a couch on a Sunday morning watching the football game, eating Cheetos and drinking Coors Light. F that.
Yeah, no, I agree, brother. I apologize that I had a disgruntled 4-year-old, so that's what you heard in the background. Yeah, I mean, it's so that right there, it just says, and it jived with the Star Spangled Banner, the sign off. And I know most, probably everybody that's watching this, and if you haven't, I would recommend you go and look at it. And that was the sign off for, when
the ABC show back in the day.
It was the sign off for all national television. It was, when TVs used to go off and they would show the sign off, and it was the Star Spangled Banner. And the Star Spangled Banner, as it played, and this was the actual sign off that they would use from the 60s, the 70s. I think they used it for a long time. But when you watch that and you slow it down, it's on here on YouTube. If you just look up the sign off Star Spangled Banner and then subliminal messages, I think it'll pull up. But throughout the Star Spangled Banner, as they showed the words below, they showed stuff that it was actually "They Live." The one that you mentioned, it would say "Obey your government." It would say, so it was all these subliminal messages. So it just goes to show what they've been doing for a very long time. And I would really recommend people go and look at that if you haven't seen it, because it just sort of puts into perspective the reality we're living in now and how false this reality is, or how it's became the reality that I call my reality right now. And I know a lot of what you see is a lot of what I see, and I think only in talking about that's when we discover the beautiful stuff in there. And I just want to thank everybody for the 11 viewers we got now. Thank you for being here. And I see in the chat, people are having a discussion, and I think that's what it's all about. It's all about the discussion and then taking action on these ideas that we see, these ideas that we have about how we can sort of change this, or how we can be beneficial to at least the positive change of the reality we live in. And I'm just going to hit on a couple quick things, a couple important things that I see in my reality. And one of them is, I know there was an article that just came out. I think it was my friend. He wasn't able to catch it, but they said something about the 60 I think there were 60 Sam's Clubs that were shut down. The people came into work and just seen the sign on the door. And if anybody has that, please link it in or somehow link it in the comments. That'd be awesome. And if not, I'll attempt to link it in when I get off here after I have my little ones. And but take a look at all the resignations that have happened from all these big CEOs. Take a look at, I think you gave the guy's name of his Twitter account, but he talks about the resignations, like the amount of resignations from some of the top law enforcement spots, some of the top corporations in the world ever since Donald Trump took office. The resignations have been, I think he gives account on the amount of killings there have been too, or people who have suspiciously died in this whole, going through this whole experience. But just take a look at that type of stuff. And they're talking about all these, I know around me personally, I've seen Sears, JCPenney, Sam's, even Walmart themselves closing down and, putting big old razor wire around them. There's something going on. It's something much bigger than most know. And I would say just take a look at it. When you find out it's the truth, when you see, go to some of these, if something's near you, go look at it for yourself. Go look and, take it all in, record a little bit, make a video, tell other people. And because it's important that we find out this now, because I don't know what's going to transpire in the next coming days, next coming months, next coming years. I know this, that it's setting up to be a heck of a thing. It's setting up to be a heck of an experience for human beings. And it's so important that people look within inside of themselves and start to know the truth of who they are. Because when you can identify that in yourself, you can identify that outside of yourself, meaning you can identify that in another human being. And I think you can attest to that, Dara. Once you make that connection with the truth inside of you, there's a greater truth to be known, and that is that you're not the only, there's a bunch of yous in this world.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Also, there was, even the mainstream media came out, what was it, last week or so, and admitted to over 5,000 children being held at these previously Walmart supercenters across 3 states. So if they're just now admitting to it, and imagine the prep time that they have to convert these stores in, and just 3 of them. Come on, if you really think about it, all these kids, like we were mentioning earlier, come across the border with their families, and then the parents, or who knows, maybe even the cost of the coyote is to give up one of your children to these Walmart centers. Who knows what the possibilities are? But 5,000 children, that's a lot of children in just 3 stores that have been converted into these quote unquote detention centers. Like, there was even a press conference about it from the White House talking about these detention centers. So whether or not it be all these shut down, closed down Walmarts and Sam's Clubs, or just these 3, the fact is there's clear evidence for you right there to hopefully spark some kind of interest to look into it deeper, because it gets deep.
It gets really deep, bro, and it gets and I don't think they're putting all these together. It doesn't look like it's a friendly gesture. It doesn't look like these are centers to awaken people. It looks like these are centers to I'll let the imagination run a little bit there. But I would just say look into all these big corporations closing down. I know Toys R Us just closed down around us, which is awesome, because I think all that stuff's it's time for all that stuff to go. Toys were back in the day made by either a toy maker, or in a lot of cases, the family member would make the gift they give. And so, we started to attempt to start doing stuff like that. And, I think it's the Christmas, I'll say our present Christmas, or the way it's celebrated. It's a pretty funky thing, and the meaning behind it, it's supposed to have a great, grand, loving meaning. And I think there's a darkness that's running all of this nastiness that, we are currently in, and we can walk out of if we'll just wake up to it. So, I have to jump off for now, man. I get to go be a dad, and very grateful to have that, and so I'm going to jump off here now. Dara, I want to thank you for jumping on. We said we are going to be doing this. We said, let's do this for a while now, and to finally get a chance to get on here. And for everybody who's in the chat room, I thank you for being in here, because, it's you guys that make this show, I don't even want to call it a show, because it's just us on here talking about what we see as reality, and it's pretty screwed up, and it can get better. I just think that looking inside has to take place first. And I know, Dara, that's something that you talk about. It's something that I talk about. And why don't you just, if you would, just tell the people some ways to watch you and some ways to get a hold of you, or whatever you want to share with the people, brother.
Yeah. The website for Third Eye Radio is thirdEyeRadioNetwork.com. It's spelled out. Facebook.com/Third Eye Radio Network. Twitter @Third Eye Radio. YouTube.com/user/Third Eye Radio Network. I got other things too. What's the other one? I don't even know. There's another one that Buddy List. I'm on that. Shoot. Yeah, pretty much if you search Third Eye Radio Network, you'll come across me.
And we'll be on more.
We'll be on more as well. I just recently moved, so set back up. So we'll be putting videos out as well, like the Dare's Ghost morning show. So yeah, look for just subscribe to the Third Eye Radio channel, and you'll get all those updates there.
Absolutely, brother. And if you're not subscribed to, I think this is the Gentle 1111 Chaos. Hit the like, hit the share if you feel that we've been talking about something that resonates with you, and if you think anyone would benefit from what we're talking about, definitely share it with them and get the word out there. I'm not on here asking for any money. I'm on here because I feel like this is my last ditch effort at attempting to save this world from one of the ways that we can go. I see us being able to literally go to the moon with this, man. Being able to this revolution, this evolution of humanity, of human beings, and what we truly are, and our true powers that we that are just waiting to be rediscovered or recognized once again, that's inside of us. And I think it's a matter of talking about sort of where we are, and so that's where I am with it. I'm wanting to talk about the stuff that means something to me and that I think will benefit humanity as a whole, and so that's what I'm on here doing. And Dara, I just want to once again thank you, and look forward to what comes from Dara and what he does, because he's been ever since I've been met him, he's just been an inspiration, and he's been doing great things. And so everybody else that's out there, thank you. I see Sophie on here. I see Ariane. If you want to become a mod, I'd say let's talk about it first. I'd like to chat with you and sort of see if that fits for us. OG.
I've actually interacted with Ariane on both of the other channels, and she's good people.
Awesome. Well, yeah, absolutely. If my brother co-signed your, let's see, I'll make you. There you are, right there. So you're a mod. And then I would just encourage everyone to just throughout your day, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and wherever you are in your day, no matter if you're feeling down or you're feeling up, take a deep breath and just take in what's around you, feel the gratitude for what you have in your life, all the good things and all what we can call bad things too. I think they're all lessons in their own way. And I'm going to take us out with the same song that I brought us in with, and I would ask people to take a look at Cruz and Jackson Turner and Forbidden Knowledge on Instagram, because what's coming out of this guy is just beautiful. And I think you'll see the same thing. Let me rewind this here. And then I would just hope that everybody goes out there and make it a great day and do something good for somebody out there. You know, if you see someone down, you know, man, just a little smile can change someone's day. So, you know, just start to do things that are a little different. And I know it may seem sort of strange. People will even look at you strange when you smile at them. And it, you know, I think it's in the intentions. What intentions do you have? And if you intend to help make someone's day a little better, you know, I think that smile is going to hit exactly where it needs to. So I'm going to let Cruz and Jackson Turner bring us out. Pantheon Elite Records is the YouTube channel. I'd say go check them out. The stuff they're talking about is pretty awesome. Until next time, Dara, man, thank you so much for being on, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this continuity of communication. It's been great.
Absolutely, bro. And for everyone else out there, thank you. And go make the rest of your day awesome. You're a creator, so go create it.
I get a different reaction. I live my life by the laws of attraction. Different reaction. I get a different reaction. I live my life by the laws of attraction. Different reaction. Let's get it. Been feeling like I have seen so many faces stuck in the matrix. Don't know when the storm may go over your head, but fuck it, I'll take you. I've been taking action for all my people. I do this with passion. I've been attracting alien life forms with different reactions. I made music for the soul. I came to empower and take back control. Oh, homie, you didn't know that crystalline gold that came with these flows. I like for you all to perceive a new way you're living, a new way to do this with ease. 28, but I'm ancient. I've been existing ever since existence has came to fruition with premonitions through my intuition. Out my mouth depicting only truth. I am a god of war, Aries. I do not lose. I manifested as truth. Fearless and sisters flow up. You're 33 vertebrae. I know you heard of me. Time that you murder me. I be the infinite one, the one that gazes at the sun. I get my shit done and up to the astro. Got you digesting my words through your gastro. Intestinal it is intentional. The way I speak my knowledge through these instrumentals. All my songs are mental, so just memorize it. Let it out your dentals. Everything I've been through, coming to this point. I've been rolling fire. My shit's on point. Take hits from this joint, yo. I've been feeling like I have seen so many faces stuck in the matrix. So no worth this song make go over your head, but fuck it, I'll take. I've been taking action for all my people. I do this with passion. I've been attracting alien levels with different reactions.
The words of the ancients, carefully turning the pages. Verbally dangerous, work with the language, burn the restraints that contains us. Grateful to give my thanks and my praises. Coming straight from the pavement, my strength will break through these cages. Disciple of age-old sages, study the basics up to the day that they make sense. Step up in the ranks next. We coming courageous, tough as a razor blade is. Struggle for pace like mother to race a race up. Nothing can phase us, rugged abrasions, scrapes and grazes, cuts on our faces. Stuck in the matrix, somebody come up and wake us quick. Knowledge that can't suppress, we stop and raise our fist. To the atmosphere, flipping with different reactions. Typical intergalactic tactics, lift up our assets, building an integral path of access. This is my chance.
Feeling like I have seen so many faces in the matrix. So know if this song may go over your head, but fuck it, I'll take. I've been taking action for all my people. I do this with passion. I've been attracting alien life forms with different reactions. With no purpose, will feel like he's worthless. And if I am infinite, I'm truly worthless. I do this to murder this. No, you've never heard this. Everything I do has a purpose. Yo, have you ever been exposed? Intelligent flows that comes from the soul. And when it explodes into your whole endocrine system, it goes. Magical substance that glows. Now I am back in the lab. Alchemical mixtures intertwining. Watch it read.